Okay, so you welcome back from this short commercial break. And today, as I said with you, we are having a discussion on the topic, is elections in Africa a do and die affair? And today, to help me digest this very topic, is no any other person than Dr. Fred Yamoah, who happens to be a student lecturer in marketing at the University of Hertfordshire. And today, he's here with me in the studio to digest this very topic, which the show that we call, as usual, Hard Talk. Doc, you're welcome to the studio today, and thanks for having you one more time.
Thank you so much, Jerry.
And how are you doing?
It's been a long time.
I know.
Yes.
Somebody says it's been ages.
Yes, but we're hanging in there.
Wow,
Yes.
That's great. How's the family?
Yeah, everybody's fine.
Wow, good.
Yeah.
I've been asking myself this question that anytime there is elections in Africa, it looks like it is a do and die affair. And I keep asking myself, we'll be having elections in the UK, in the US, and things seems to move on smoothly. And I've been wondering that anytime you hear of elections either in West Africa or East Africa or whatever it is, there is always bloodshed. I've been wondering, why all these?
Right. I mean, your observation is right. And there are many examples across the continent. I mean, that shows that when it comes to elections, it's a do or die. Some have had spillovers where people have died in large numbers, etc., etc. One thing that is clear is that we, as Africa, we're going through a kind of what we call a democratic experimentation.
Okay.
The democracies that you have compared Africa to, most of them have had this system of electing their people for a long time.
Right.
So they've had many years of going through this process.
Right.
But to me, that is not enough an excuse. Like you mentioned, I think I could sound your frustration saying that aren't we human beings with blood flowing through our bodies?
Yeah.
And by virtue of ICT, the closeness in terms of communication, yes, Africans see what happens in other jurisdictions when it comes to election.
Yeah.
So why are things the way they are?
Yeah.
My answer, yes, so I agree with you, it's do or die. But I think it's do or die because of the way our political system is structured in terms of who holds power and how power is exercised. So the struggle is a struggle to be able to have access to the nation's resources.
Okay.
And that is the big thing about why we keep fighting each other. And it's also because when you win, you have it all.
Okay.
And you are secured in courts for the next 4 years, depending on how long your term is supposed to run for.
Right. Following your submission for the introduction, I'm wondering the reason why they say winner takes it all. Can there be some system that can be put in place whereas to whether a majority party, even in parliament, let's say Ghana for example, you have the majority in parliament, and then the presidential candidate is coming from, let's say, the NDC or the MPP or the PPP. Why should it always be that a majority in parliament is from the NDC, and then if the president that comes into power is also from NDC, they only have to run the system and everything comes to them? If there is a change, let's say majority in parliament should be the MPP, and the president candidate or the one that wins or becomes the president is from the NDC or let's say the PPP or whatever it is, don't you think that if we're able to share some of these values, it will help to be able to give some of this menace anytime it's election period?
Right. I mean, that's an interesting observation that you've made.
Okay.
At the moment, and referring to Ghana's case, to my mind, Ghana has only one independent system beyond the executive, the judiciary. The parliament, the way parliament is structured at the moment, I don't think that the parliament of Ghana is independent at all.
Okay.
And I would want us to take this discussion right from the very source of political power, which is the constitution that these countries, especially Ghana, has crafted for itself. in Ghana's constitution, what is supposed to happen is that the three arms of government are supposed to be very independent. But since the inception of the Fourth Republic, no parliament has shown that they are independent. Right. So if you take, for example, the clause in Ghana's constitution that says that 50% of the ministers should be coming from parliament, you would realize that the framers of the constitution, it appears they had a goodwill that a president, and I'm told, I don't know how true this is, but I'm told that the framers took a cue from what happened with Dr. Yamoah when his budget was voted out by the parliament. Okay, so Rawlings and the others taking a cue, they felt that if you have a substantial amount of parliamentarians being ministers, then it would be easier for the president to be able to execute his program. You know, you may be aware that in Ghana, it's only the executive that can generate a bill to be passed into a law. So the parliament, as they sit there, cannot decide that this is an important area and we need to come up with a law to be able to implement. All right. So in that case, what then happened is that the difficulty that these countries find themselves in is that the framers may have a goodwill, a good mind in putting this clause in. The point I'm trying to arrive at is that there are very good clauses in Ghana's constitution. But those good clauses will require a leader that is competent and, above all, patriotic. Because, see, the rules are there. I don't think that it's a matter of making new laws that will change Ghana's destiny. It's a matter of having someone who says that there's this law which I can apply for the good of society in general.
Are there not people there also in parliament, or let's say the judiciary, that can be able to let them know there's a particular clause in this particular law or this constitution that could be able to be implemented?
Yes. I mean, you made a clear point, but like I'm saying, laws in themselves don't mean anything. It's human beings that implement the law. For example, we could decide that, like I made mention about the 50%. The idea is that if you have 50%, then these 50% in terms of the parliamentarian, they understand government business. So when they come into parliament, they'll be able to explain to their colleagues the good intentions of the government. So that they can also vote based on taking informed decisions. But what happens is that in Ghana at the moment, parliament is a route to catch the eye of the president. So parliamentarians of the ruling party are there to do the executive's bidding so that you'll be in line for the next ministerial position. And there's been so many occasions where parliamentarians who are ministers, they don't go to parliament at all. They are only rushed there when there is voting on a controversial issue. Then they'll be packed into the house so that the government's position can carry. I mean, there's an example where, for once in the Fourth Republic, the majority had their way in terms of voting because they voted against a loan that the present government wanted to pass. But interestingly, the second speaker, the Speaker of Parliament, Ebo Badnedro, then realized that the decision was made all right, but they didn't form a quorum. So what then happened was that he said, though we voted, we don't form a quorum, so the decision cannot stand. So what they did was that they had to cancel that, reconvene, and at the reconvention, they had all the ruling government MPs coming in, and then they voted to get the loan through. So the point here is that we have very good provisions in our constitution, but instead of using it for the benefit of the people, our leaders look at rather for the loopholes, and then exploit that. Again, I mean, for example, if they know Parliament is rising, maybe next 2 weeks, they wait till the last minute, and 4, 5, 6 bills are pushed through Parliament. If you challenge them, they will say that, oh yes, the rule is that Parliament has to approve. But they know that parliamentarians did not have the chance to read through, to research, and to scrutinize. So here is a case where truly It's gone through Parliament, but due diligence has not been
That's
done.
not been done.
Of course. So the rules are there, the provisions are great, but instead of looking at the good side for the benefit of the people, we
You're not
rather
looking
want
at
to
it
see
for
the
benefit of-
loopholes.
Okay, for them to exploit the particular
Exploit,
area.
yeah.
Okay.
So you exploit the weaknesses, and I mean, in a human society that is dynamic, you can't legislate, you can't put rules for every bit of our lives. This is where you need good conscience, you need good people with good heart, and with good compassion for the whole people,
Right.
to see that what provision is there is not meant for you to exploit
Okay.
the people, but
But
the
rather
provisions are there to be able to help you achieve benefit for the
Okay,
people.
all right.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Doc. I also wanted to find out from you. We've mentioned about Ghana. I've taken my time to look through our African continent. Just mentioned Nigeria had elections some few years, I think about 2 years ago. And even though they had a change of government, but you could see what actually they went through, clashes here and there and all that. Is it because of their selfish interest that makes them to be able to say, look, whatever will happen, even I have to even kill a sibling or a brother or a relation to be able to make my way through, I will do it all way out? I keep wondering why.
Yeah, I mean, part of it, like I try to, if I have to put a structure, so part of it is the constitution, the rules that governance, that governance is supposed to be directed with.
Okay.
That is one. And then the process.
Right.
You see, let's go back a bit into history. Most of the democracies that we have in Africa, especially sub-Saharan Africa, to my mind, it's a kind of a false kind of democracy.
Okay.
Because these democracies have been put together and spearheaded by what we refer to as retreating military rulers.
Right.
Okay? So, in Ghana's case, for example, the PNDC government had to give way for democratic governance. Okay, so whilst Rawlings was the head of state, he also had to set up his parties to take over. But I'm not only talking again about NDC or the Rawlings' party, but generally, if you take political parties in Ghana, how are they structured? Do political party members in Ghana pay dues?
Okay.
So somebody says I'm an MPP member. That MPP membership means that I'm one person who votes MPP, and I'm ready for you to bring me a T-shirt, pay for my transport so that I can attend rallies.
Okay.
So the membership itself, in terms of party membership, we've got it wrong. So parties in Ghana are parties that are bankrolled by people with political ambition.
Okay.
So that is the false start.
Right.
So over there, you realize that for you to become a party leader, then you should have some resources. So what has happened with our democracy is that it has become fully and completely monetized. So the monetization of the
influencing people's
whole
attitude
political
to be able to
process
act. Okay.
is the problem. Because at the moment, you cannot be an MP in Ghana if you don't have resources. You have to go and borrow. Because the expectation on the part of the electorate is that when you come to me to get my vote and then you get it, I can't see you, I won't see you in the next 4 years. So pay me something, okay? I take that from you now, I vote for you, you go and stay in there.
Wow.
So that is the way the party structures are, that's the biggest problem.
Okay.
So if politicians will have to fund political activity through this monetization, then of course, already before they get out there, they have people that have been good to them, they have to listen to, they have people that have been with them in rallies.
Right.
So when it comes to appointment, we don't appoint our best brains.
Okay, just because the person has helped you to be able to come into power,
Of
the
course.
person must get something as well.
Of course, because within the Ghana system, once the president wins elections and takes office, the next thing is that they are thinking about the next election.
Just when the election is just been taking or just taking place,
of course.
they win the election and thinking of the next election.
Yes. Let me give you practical examples. Maybe that will bring the point home.
Yeah.
If you look at 2007 into 2008, when NPP was in power, you had 8 cabinet ministers just resigning from cabinet to go and contest as presidential candidates. I mean, I really, it was something that I found it very difficult to understand, because you're going to contest to be a president, granted, but you had power in your hand there and then to execute a program. And finally, the sitting vice president with 8 cabinet ministers had to resign.
Just because they've got a political ambition.
Of course. Presently, as we speak, the president is on campaign trail, the vice president is on, the chief of staff, who is government administrator, is also campaigning. So who is running the country? So the point about our politics is that parties are not well structured. They are not structured based on ideologies and people who believe in it and ready to fund and support it. So individuals with political ambition will have to fund this activity.
So should we say that not talking about the fact that their ideologies are there as parties is just a fallacy or something? Because somebody will say NDC party is a socialist party, or the NPP is so and so. Are they just on paper and it's not being implemented?
Right. What it is that the leadership or the key members, yes, they believe in some of these ideologies. I mean, NDC has had a kind of evolution.
Right.
They only talked about social democracy after they've lost elections in 2004. Yeah, that's where they rebranded themselves as Social Democrats. I mean, in terms of their policies and in terms of what they do in practice, I mean, I don't think that in practice they are.
Okay.
Of course, I mean, I don't think at their party function they don't drink champagne. They do. so it's just, to me, it's just a way of taking another position.
Right.
So that they will also be attractive in terms of having because I mean, if you look at the extent to which in practice NPP came to power, there were a lot of social interventions that you think that should be done by a social democratic party, but they brought these initiatives. In the same way, SADA was a very good initiative, but how did it end? Under the watch of a social democratic party. So to my mind, yes, these ideologies at the top are there. They've got their history, they've got their roots. But what I'm trying to point out is that because of monetization, the whole process has been monetized to the extent that it takes people who have some money or people who can be funded by other people, and that dilutes whatever idea and plans they've got. So by the time they get to the top, I mean, when Kufuor came to power, I told friends that, look, the first 4 years will be what in the account parlance we say medasi. Because they've been in opposition for 30 years. And people who have held them to hang in there were the people that have to be, in a way, rewarded in one way or the other. Those that have bankrolled them from overseas, there were lots of appointments from people who live in the UK, in the US, they had to go back. I mean, part of it was to rebuild their country, but part of it was that, yes, we have also supported. Exactly. So if you look at the system, the Constitution has its own issues. The process, in terms of the way party politics have been monetized. I mean, if you look at today's world with ICT, why should we have all these big rallies? But
somebody could say that if we are trying to liken some of our rallies with the US and the UK, if we just had Donald Trump and then Clinton's wife, you know, they also held big rallies, if you could say. So they also think that for us to be able to get our message across to our electorate down there, we should also be able to hold the big rallies.
I mean, I'm wondering, I'm hoping that maybe one day you see somebody walking, I mean, off your street wearing Theresa May's t-shirt. And that t-shirt wasn't something that he or she bought, but has been supplied by Theresa May. That is the difference. You see, these people that are buzzed to rallies, in most cases, are people who are vulnerable. How many children of ministers, how many children of leading politicians do you see them at these rallies? So the point about it is that people who are vulnerable are being used to put up a front that yes, we want to show the world that we are popular.
Right.
We want to show the world that we've got the people. So to my mind, it's all about the fact that people not being respectful to their own other fellows. If people by their own volition decide that they want to go to rallies, that is great.
Okay.
But in most cases, it is something that the president wants to put a show, the opposition want to put up a show, and they have to gather people. And the point I'm making is that if you take a typical politician, one of the fallacies in our body politics is that a Ghanaian politician, an MP, an aspiring MP, would go around saying that, oh, when I come, look at the old MP, he hasn't done anything for you. When I come, I'm going to do this, do that, do that. But they know the remit of an MP is not to develop the constituency.
Okay.
It is the district chief executive and his officers
supposed to do some of
they are
these
supposed
things.
to do that.
Yeah.
They are supposed to do that. But the MP, and if you also go and you don't tell the people that you bring them development, you can guarantee they are not going to vote for you.
But I believe that most of the electorate, some of them are also educated, that they are like enlightened.
On whose
and
part?
Also,
you mean the prospective MPs or the
those who
electorates?
vote, the electorates?
Okay.
They are educated.
Yeah.
You've seen an election that came less about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
They came give promises.
Yeah.
And they couldn't honor their promises because that is not their role.
Yeah.
And so if they come again in the next 8 years, or let's say the next 4 years, and they keep saying, vote for me, and I'll be able to do this for you, can't they also reason?
Right. I mean, this is where you introduce a very interesting factor in terms of nepotism,
Okay.
tribalism, and cronies. You see, within that mess, or within that kind of system, okay, there are people who are following some people because they belong to their family. They belong to the same church. They belong to the same area.
So as to whether they are going to do the right thing or not,
No,
it's got nothing to do with them.
No, the point about it is that, I mean, imagine Ghana, when someone is nominated by the president to be a minister, do you know what happens?
No.
They have the chief of his town, family members, they all go to the vetting.
Okay.
Okay? They all go to the vetting. And after the vetting, you know what happens? They hold Thanksgiving service. If a country like Ghana, with that level of challenge, and you are being appointed as a minister, what is a Thanksgiving service for? They should rather cry and pray for you that you will go and make a difference. But we are happy that one of us...
They are thanking God that at least amongst all the million in the country, you've been nominated and then you've been vetted and you've gone through the process.
Yeah, because now that my uncle is there, no confused.
Interesting.
That is the whole point. And the chief will leave his village to come to parliament to say that we are there to support him.
So not necessarily that they're just coming to...
No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if you look at the burden that is being placed on your shoulders, people should be fasting and praying in their rooms for you, rather than and the Thanksgiving service is a party. It's not a place where they go and say we are going to pray for the person. It's a party, a celebration.
Wow.
Yes, and they wear white. A sign of victory.
Wow. Viewers, if you just logged on, you are still watching Hard Talk, and with me, Jerry, as usual, your host for this very show. And today, as I said, I have with me Dr. Fred Yamoah, who is a senior lecturer into marketing at the University of Hertfordshire. And today, he's done us the honors, and he's here with us in the studio for us to talk about the fact that if it is elections in Africa, is it a do and die affair? And if you just logged on, you've not missed much. There's more to come your way. Doc, you taking us through, let me say, about 3 processes. So the constitution, the process, and then sometimes we can say that how the message is put across to the people who normally would do the elections, or let's say the electorate. Now, I want us to look at another scenario in the sense that if somebody has to buy an electorate a t-shirt for campaign, I'll give you, let's say, something small for transportation. I have to come and pass it for a rally and all that. You enter into a scuffle with an opponent, and then you know you've got a family relation back home. Are you thinking of what you are getting now, being given a t-shirt being given some monies to just go and then misbehave. Meanwhile, you've got some family back home, you've got children that you are taking care of them. You are thinking of what to get now, and then you forget that after what has happened, a scam just maybe has taken place. You can either lose your life or you can even gain your life that very day. You don't know. Why can't our people think for themselves?
Right.
They always want to be given something, and then just, let's say, in the interim, looking at what they're going to get today, they're not thinking of tomorrow.
Right.
Why is it like that?
Yes, I mean, if you are very much conversant with what happens in our various countries, you've got 48% of our youth, employable youth, not working.
Okay.
To start with. If you find places, awkward places where you have young girls sleeping in the night after doing carry work in Accra, you see, people are in such a vulnerable state. And above all, they are also given a kind of a poison in terms of the propaganda.
Okay.
That they are fed on the radios, they are fed through so many outlets in Africa.
Okay.
So in the first place, what they are trying to do is that, you see, you take a poor person, okay, that person feels that I like this political leader.
Okay.
I have to do something for him to recognize me some way, somehow.
Okay.
Okay, and some people, okay, they even feel that putting up an aggressive behavior is a way of proving to the leaders
member of parliament or the leaders
people
that you are doing a good work.
I'm loyal,
Okay.
I'm faithful, I'm behind you.
I
Okay?
see.
So if they could contribute
Yeah.
in a more meaningful way, and especially where the political leader is also saying the right things,
Okay.
to let them know that being violent is wrong, to let them know that taking a stand against your brother is wrong, or to let them know that passing wrong information about the opponent is wrong, then we'll have a more kind of civil discussion going on.
Right.
But when you have cases where people are able to fabricate pure lies about their opponent, okay, and some will look at themselves and say, I don't have a degree, so even when it comes to appointments, I'm not going to get one. So what can I do at my local level to show that I'm also loyal?
Right.
So that is the point. So on one hand, someone has a vulnerability which is being exploited
By these leaders.
by these leaders.
Okay.
So in much the same way, if they have any positive means of making a contribution, if their energies are being harnessed positively, of course, they will do it. I mean, if these people are being recruited for these elections as volunteers, okay, and then they are being rewarded very well, they will use their energies to do that.
Right.
But where they are given a very bad kind of understanding about their opponent, that, and you can imagine that when you listen to the radio and you listen to national discourse, yeah, it's those who shout the most that are seen as making more sense.
So for that matter, you wouldn't even be bothered as to whether you're going to lose your life. Your family members that are looking up to you, let's say you're the breadwinner of the family, they don't even care at all. Once you are able to get something, they just go all the way out, just go and make the noise and shout the most.
Yeah, I mean, I'm even tempted to begin to say, maybe on a lighter note, you've heard of Rollins's interesting saying, babies with sharp teeth.
Sharp teeth, yeah.
Where did that come from? And all these babies are deputy ministers. Why were they described as sharp teeth? Because they were able to pick on
most of the senior ministers,
adults in society.
Yeah.
They were sharp in their criticisms. You heard of the infamous setting the record straight, where it was claimed that the president of the country has sold the gold reserves.
Yeah.
And this same person was asked this question when he was being vetted in parliament, and he says that, oh, that was a political talk. So you do realize that people have been fed with this mindset that if you go hard on your opponent, you catch the eye of the president, you catch the eye of your party leader, and then when it comes to sharing the spoils, you will be considered at all costs.
I see.
Yes, and you have, I mean, there have been many cases, people who call themselves serial callers have come to the radio saying that, oh, I did so many calls, and when we go into power, I didn't
They've
get
been forgotten,
anything.
they've been
Apart
left,
from that,
they haven't been paid.
even senior politicians, I mean, Aban Babin's example comes very handy. Babin was made as a minister
Yeah.
because they were selected to be taking care of special duties, which they found, the three of them, I think Babin, E.T. Mensah, and another person, they found that to be a kind of a demotion. And Babin started talking. You know what he said about the president, which still the opposition is using every day.
Yeah.
That he hasn't got the edge to fight corruption. He's running friends and family government. Babin was then given a position as a majority in parliament, majority leader, and he stopped talking. So
it gives a clear signal that anytime somebody is in a position, they zip their mouth. But if they are not in the good books of the president, then they also shut the most.
Yes, like I said earlier, it's all, you see, human actions are all driven by what the motives behind the action. You see, it's driven by the values we hold. Okay? In as much as we don't have many people who are driven by strong patriotic passion.
Right.
This is what you will see. But the point is, where do we start to rewrite the wrong? And that takes us to the point where there's so much power vested in the president of Ghana. If that president...
Somebody came up with an idea that it would be okay if we should be able to take that particular power from the president of Ghana. Because whenever the power lies within, or let's say they've got all the power to be able to operate, certain things that people can be able to query them on, and they are able to do it.
You're right. I mean, I think I've followed the manifesto so far. The NPP seem to, the NDC, NPP, and the rest, they all say, okay, we should now go and elect our DCEs. That's one thing.
Yeah.
I think the PPP is one party that is looking more at some of these changes.
Okay.
But the point is, where would it start from? Because it is a president who is benefiting from these powers that would have to sacrifice and say, I'm making way for these changes. Do you know that Freedom of Information Bill has gone through 4 cycles of parliament? It has not been passed. And this current parliament has not passed it. And when the new one comes in 2017, they have to start all over again. But last week, they were able to push through 5 different loads through parliament. For example, when Atta Mills was in power, he set up the Constitutional Review Committee. This commission went through the whole country. One of the things that Ghanaians said very clearly, let's elect our DCs. You know what the current president said, or the current government, or let's say the Council of State. What they have said was that rather the president would nominate 5 people. And then 3 out of the 5 would then be given to the people to vote on them.
I see.
Even when the country has spent money to go around the whole country, and that's what Ghanaians are saying. So it should take a president who will feel. I mean, I don't think that Mahama is the only culprit here. Kufuor said the same thing. That when I come, we're going to have elections of DCs. He came in there. I mean, look, when it comes to campaigning period, the DCs, their offices, all the resources is turned into a party resource. Their drivers, everybody. The cars are all in party, whatever. So they use for elections. So if you sit there in Accra and you think that the DC is not somebody that comes from your party, you feel threatened. So we need a leader who will say that, yes, I've been voted and I have to go by this constitution. But I'm ready to sacrifice to bring the changes up. If we don't get that kind of leadership, they talk about taking it from how do you take it from the president? The president will have to take that law to parliament. Or parliament on its own. The lawyers say so mutu. The parliament on its own should come up. But the parliament is not independent. So the parliament will not be able to do that.
Right.
So it's a good idea to say the president has so, because I mean the president, when the president is voted, the president has, I don't know the empirical study on this, but it's been estimated the president appoints 5,000 top jobs in the country. I mean, let me give you an example. IGP, the current IGP, if NDC loses power, he
goes out of office,
Yeah, he goes out of office. Okay? The IGP is out of office. And these are some of the institutional weaknesses that we have.
Right.
Where a president will come, all the boards, all the government agencies, he appoints all the board members.
Okay.
All of them. He appoints a huge percentage of even the Council of State.
Yes.
Yes, he appoints his people into the district assembly.
Yeah.
So you do realize that there's so much power, but if this power was in the hands of somebody burning with patriotism, passion, burning with the kind of strength to be able to make changes, they will be able to sacrifice part of their power. I mean, they may not even need rules. I mean, if the president decides that instead of he appointing somebody as a DC, if the president decides that, oh, openly, the people there should just get nominations without even a change in the law,
being part of it.
I'm taking my hands off.
Right.
Anybody who wants to contest, come on, go in there and then let's contest. I mean, they have to change the rule, they will be able to change the rule. So the point I'm making is that there's enough room. There's enough room. I mean, it's like talking about global issues and food.
Okay.
There's enough food in the world today to feed everybody. There's enough goodwill in Ghana's constitution for a leader who is competent and burning with patriotism to be able to turn the nation's fortunes around. But when you get there and it's to your advantage, you close your eyes.
Doc, let's look at the risk involved.
Yeah.
If there is an election, let's narrow it down to Ghana, and then look at what is even happening now in the hospitals. Nurses are on strike. Doctors today, they are on strike. Tomorrow, they resume back to office. And imagine if there are clashes now. Do we have the machinery to be able to take care of some of these incidents?
You're talking about political violence?
Yes, political violence.
Of course.
Because we are trying to make sure that we are talking about the reason why when it's elections in Africa, it's a do and die affair. Imagine if there's a clash now. NDC, MPP, PPP, whatever is happening, and there's bloodshed. Do we look at what happened even in the disaster of the stadium thing that happened? House of Folk in Kotoko. The ambulance were not even enough.
Right. So you are looking at, I mean, one part of the answer to this, part of it could be, you may be looking at the logistics.
Yes.
In terms of the infrastructure and logistics.
Yes.
Part of it also could be leadership.
Yeah, but the reason why I'm asking is that, Doc, if this thing should keep going on, are we not going to lose lives? The people that are supposed to even vote for you, you want to govern for people. If the people are dying, who are you going to govern at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, Jerry, the whole point is that you speak as somebody who is very considerate, as somebody whose conscience is not sealed. You see, as somebody who is not power drunk. But within the political setting, if you look at what happens, you would realize that some people really do not care. When you talk about the logistics, yes, we're going to suffer. I mean, when we had the rains, and then about over 200 people or 120 people died. I mean, the sad thing is that you saw bodies being put in clear track and things like that. So yes, we are very poor in that. But I think where we are a bit strong is the kind of political people that we've got. Because if we cross, like you're saying, if we cross that level where talks have failed, then I don't think that we have the logistics in terms of the operational things. Maybe the army may have to come in.
Okay.
But the point I'm making is that I'm very sure, I mean, Ghanaians in general are not people who are prone to being very violent.
Okay.
to start with.
Okay.
And I'm thinking that the other thing that's the interesting thing is that you see the opinion formers, the leaders in Ghana, leaders I'm talking about beyond political leadership. I mean it could be church leaders, chiefs, and I must say
the
it's
imams,
yeah, they are too comfortable now for Ghana to go into flames. All the peace enterprise that you think about, the peace things that goes on there.
Yes.
I don't think that they are so much concerned about peace for development per se.
Okay.
But peace so that they can enjoy a good old life.
Yeah, but this is what we had in Liberia, we had in Congo, as if things were not getting too intense. Before you realize the whole country was in a flame.
Yeah, I mean, it comes to leadership. I mean, if you look at the leaders that we've got now, those going into this part, elections.
Elections, yeah.
I know Mahama could be seen as, we've been described in so many terms, and so I don't think that Mahama has got the heart to lead the country into a bloodshed. No. If he has to make a decision,
okay,
I don't think he's one person. I mean, he's got his weaknesses, but he's got too much to lose.
Okay,
that's the point I'm making. You see, Ghana will not fight, not because there are no reasons for them to fight.
Okay,
but those who are in leadership have too much to lose. I mean, it frustrates me in a way that their concern it's not so much. I mean, I expect lawyers, I expect chiefs, I expect pastors to be on the street demonstrating. Okay, they should lead
reason being
demonstrations. I mean, like nurses being on strike, they should lead those things. But what I see is that they are comfortable. Okay, so they want the peace to continue. I mean, it's like what's happening in the West with Trump winning and what is happening in the West. You see, the West has crafted a kind of a system where some are seen as very inviting, very global centered. That is the status quo. Okay. But Africa is suffering within that. And that's the kind of thing they want to perpetuate. They want that to stay. So I don't think what Trump will do in terms of foreign policy will change much from what Obama is doing. Okay. I don't think so. But because Trump speaks these things out, it makes it sound too bad. I mean, can you imagine a son from Africa looks at John Mahama and says that take prisoners from Guantanamo Bay, prisoners that Americans says we don't want them on our soil. And Obama, you say he's an African, he thinks that because he's made a vow that he's going to close the camp, he has to give these prisoners underhand to our president for them to come to Africa. I don't think that his foreign policy would be any much different. Okay. But here is the case, Trump said things that are outrageous. So he's not playing it the way politics should be. Okay. So back into the Ghana case, what I see, the parallels I see here is that most of the leaders and opinion formers in Ghana, they want Ghana, the least they want is any disturbance. They have too much to lose. I mean, Rawlings will not sit down for Ghana to go into flame. Look, he has too much to lose. He's comfortable. John Mahama, even if he loses this election, for the rest of his life, I mean, as a retired vice president, as a retired president, Ghana is going to take care of him till he dies.
Yeah, but we can also say that at the end of the day, these people are well-to-do. I mean, they've got the financial resources. They can be able to move out of the country with their family, you know, maybe either to the UK, to the US, or any part of the world that they want to go and live in. Yeah, but they can live comfortably.
No, they can't. They can't live comfortably.
Okay.
At all. At all.
Okay.
They can't live comfortably.
Even though with their financial resources
they can't.
God. Really?
They can't.
Okay.
I mean, look, Africa is an oasis, you know. Look, the fact that you need to dress up and put on your gloves, your jacket, is an inconvenience. John Mahama flies in a private aeroplane. Yeah. Not even the Prime Minister of the UK does that. The money he takes home is comparable to the UK Prime Minister's money. Look, he is too comfortable. Look, the leaders in Ghana, the opinion formers, they are too comfortable to allow Ghana to go in flames. But that is what frustrates me. They should show their frustration on the street to take on political elites when they do the wrong thing.
So why is it that if the presidency or the presidential candidates, let me say, are quite okay, then what happens to the electorates? Why are they just go on the street and they just trying to just mess up their life? At the end of the day, when you go to fight on the streets, you lose. But the one that is asking you to go and do those things, let me say in quote, they are going to benefit at the end of the day.
I mean, a hungry man is an angry man.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, that is the reality of our times.
Right.
Okay? Look, let's take Boko Haram.
Yes.
For an example. You see, any child or any young person that sees a future ahead of him or her will not join Boko Haram.
Yes.
So that is a
or this ISIS, let me say.
that is the reality on the ground in Ghana.
Right.
If you get up in the morning and you don't know where your next meal is going to come from,
okay,
you have a whole 24 hours on your hand, okay, and you don't know when your next meal is going to come from, you are prone to anything.
Right.
You are prone to, I mean, some of them, they don't go in with this mindset that we're going to be violent. But here is the case that it's only when the MP comes to the constituency that they get some little money to survive. So if they are working with the MP and somebody shouting abuse at the MP, what do you think they will do? They become guard dogs. So the whole point is that, you see, and what saddens and frustrates some of us is that until everybody is given the right, to develop their natural talent, these things are going to happen. But it sometimes seems that there's a conspiracy by some of the political class to keep people in those vulnerable states so that whenever they need them, they can go to them and exploit them.
Wow.
Oh yeah. And that, I mean, it's like the case about immigration in the UK. When it comes to immigration, David Cameron used immigration to win power.
Yes.
Look at how it went against Gordon Brown. When they forgot his mic and then he said that woman was a bigot. I mean, David Cameron them were happy. They won. And then when it comes to Europe, you say that, oh no, immigration is not an issue.
Yeah.
Now we are all the same. Do you think that, so the people taught them a lesson by voting out because it's been used over and over again. It's the same thing that's happening in Africa. They want the masses to stay where they are so that whenever they lead them,
they'll be able to use them.
Of course.
I see. So Doc, if I may ask this question, for us to be able to move forward, where UK, US, and let's say some of the developed countries are now going for elections and things are peaceful. You don't even, some of them can even say that, look, there's even a police station very close to me. I don't even know there's even a police station very close to me. When can we get there? How can we get there? What can we do to be able to say that, look, as for this year's election, there is no tension, things are very calm and we are quite comfortable?
We're not too far from there, provided we want to do the right thing. I mean, why should our political elite be so much power drunk? You see, to the point that anything will go for them to win political power.
Okay.
So when the president, like we said, when a president decides to then diffuse the tension.
Okay.
I mean, look at what happened yesterday, Remembrance Day. I look at the procession. You see, the Bishop of London leads because in the country they say that it is God first. So the Bishop of London leads the procession before the politicians will come.
Okay.
And the Queen is God's representative. So, and you look at the politicians, the Prime Minister, the next person by the Prime Minister is the opposition leader.
Yeah.
In Ghana, it is the president, it's the president's wife, it is the party chairman, it's the party general secretary. So you see, there are little things that do not cost money.
But Doc, we say that we're in a global world now, and some of them will watch some of these things. So why can't they learn from the Western world?
No, I mean, you are tempting me to go biblical. You see, the African, like the African or the Ghanaian Christian, when we are enlisted into the faith, we do selective selection of issues about what a Christian should do. So
something that will benefit the person.
We select power, good health. We don't select being disciplined, being responsible, hard work. Those become secondary.
Okay.
So in the same way, when it comes to looking at the West, we look at things that, I mean, look at Ghana's constitution. Ghana took the US style and then merged it with part of the UK style.
Yeah.
If a Ghanaian president was supposed to be in parliament every week to have a debate with the opposition leader, they will sit down. But they chose the nice side of the presidency, the presidential kind of system, and then they superimposed that on the parliamentary system here. So if you're president of Ghana, you can't be as, ineffective as anything. They will put together a speech for you. Once parliament is sitting, you go and read one, that's it. You don't go to parliament again. If you even can't articulate your ideas, if you can't talk on your feet, you can still be a president of Ghana. If you have people to bankroll you, you will be a president of Ghana. So even in choosing our constitution, we chose the nice things from the US, nice things from the UK, we put it together. But don't forget that Ghana's constitution, when it was being put together, DFNR left, all right? But in the evening, after the constitutional whatever, they'll go into Papa Jerry and say, oh, this is what we're trying to put in. Do you like it? Look at Obin Melu ridiculously challenging Rawlings that he's not a Ghanaian, which I found ridiculous because someone who has served in the army, you don't challenge just person's nationality. But do you know what they did? Because of Rawlings, they changed the rule to the point that if one of your grandparents is a Ghanaian, you qualify to be a Ghanaian. So my kids here, when they have, if one of them should marry a Mexican or whoever here and they have a child, that child can go to Ghana and be a president of Ghana. So look at how far they took it because of one person. So there are a lot of clauses in Ghana's constitution that they looked at Rawlings and the power he had as a military leader, and they said, we don't have to disadvantage him when he turns to become a civilian president. So that's some of this. So when it comes to the West, we choose things that are convenient for us and things that will make things better. It's like the way we choose in terms of fashion, in terms of, I heard some time ago, Ghana was celebrating Halloween. And Ghanaian celebrities, you see them. I said, look at this. But that tells you, they'll tell you globalization.
But we are copying blindly.
Of course, Halloween. Ask them, what's the history behind Halloween?
They will not be able to tell you exactly what it is.
So in much the same way, when we talk about the West, not long ago, they had a case where the Korean ambassador to Ghana had to really lambast government ministers because they had a meeting and they were over 1.5 hours late. They are asking us to come for money. And government ministers cannot keep to their time. So when you say we should, funny enough, when there was a minister, a royal minister that we met here, and we had a chat, I asked him a question about where does this concept of black and white came from? Because I don't see any white person in this country. And I don't see purely black person here. So why? And he told me, oh Fred, don't worry, it's a kind of a political terminology.
Wow.
And then on that same day, I think we had something, there's a program, and the Africans were involved, and they were running late. They know what he told me? He told me that, oh, you know what? As for us, the English, we have the clock, but you people have time.
Amazing. Well, viewers, if you are watching, you are still watching the Heart Talk Show with me, Jerry. And today, as I said, I have with me today Dr. Fred Yamoah, who is helping us to be able to look at this topic about the fact that anytime it's elections in Africa, is it a do and die affair? Time is running, and I know that you've got some other commitment for you to go. I wanted to also finally find out from you as well, when we are talking about peaceful elections in Africa, let's say Ghana, for example, because we just got some few days for our elections in December the 7th. What do you think that can be done at the moment for the people that are becoming quite radical? We just heard something that happened just yesterday in front of Akufo-Addo's residence, which was quite a bizarre one as usual. But what can be done? How can we be able to conscientize our people, families who are here in the UK and who are watching us all over the world? What do we have to do? What role can we play to be able to let them know, look, whatever you are doing, we need to think of the future. What can we do, Doc?
I think it's a duty of the political leaders.
Right.
And this is where I expect the president to take the lead. But yes, I expect the president to take the lead. It could be I mean, if I were in their shoes, I would be asking for a kind of maybe a weekly or, I mean, maybe twice a week, kind of a joint press conference.
Okay.
For instance, I mean, something to be effective, it should be in that form.
Where to be able to see that.
Where all the political leaders or those vying for positions will take turns to address the people. Maybe on the, it could be on GTV or on the radio. They can do that. On the, or they should avail themselves to be questioned about what they're doing to make sure that we have peaceful elections.
Right.
Well, the point is that, and I know they will tell you that they have a campaign to prosecute.
Yes. I remember because of the campaign, some of the MPs had to boycott Parliament because of the campaign.
Yeah. So in terms of being effective, I think it should be coming from the top. And maybe at the regional levels, you've got the regional party executives also doing a similar thing. And then at the very grassroots level as well, you have party leaders doing that. That would be one way of diffusing the tension. For people to know that. And then the other thing that they can do, which they are not doing, because of course when they mount the platform, they see the crowd and they get charged.
Anything that comes into their mind, they just
so that is where they also have to be very circumspect. And even when they've said things that are wrong, they should have the decency and then the humility to go back quickly.
And then this, like, and then render some apology or something.
Yeah.
But
and you, the press as well. You, the press as well. You should also take a big responsibility where you call someone in. I mean, there's a bad thing that being said somewhere. You call the person in, and you could hear, you could see.
Well, that is why MCMTV. That's why MCMTV. We bring people that have got, you know, the
anyway. You haven't made
neutral brains. You know, on set point.
And then you could hear that yes, it's all about leading questions. Oh, so what did he say? Oh, and what do you do? And they wouldn't even tell the first person that they are talking to that when we are done with you, your opponent will be on the line. Whilst the question is going, oh, okay, Jerry, can you hold on? I've got the general secretary of the other party on the line. And then because you didn't know that the other general secretary was on the line, you said what you wanted to say. He then rebuts, and then they bring you in. So I think the press must also take their rightful position in society and being very, very circumspect. This sort of MPP, NDC thing, I think even from now to elections, if I had my own way, they should stop paneling MPP and say that now we want just neutral people to come and talk to Ghanaians. I mean, I can't see why up to today they have the same format, the breakfast shows and the same format. Why can't they say that from now to elections, we want people who have knowledge about development issues to come in? I know the excuse will be that, oh, we call them and they don't come.
Some of them happens. It's happened to to us a couple of times.
Jerry, what you can do is that why don't you use members of your own staff in the radio stations? Aren't they Ghanaians?
Yeah, okay.
You, the host, you have a view. You have very good ideas. You can go around. That your cameraman will be the first person to say, what do you expect from politicians for these elections? Okay. Let the person talk freely. Right. But what happens is that, and when I listen to it, there's a guy on Joy, they call him Roland Walker. Yeah. You know what he said? He said, your critics say, and I get so annoyed. So Roland, if you get this interview, begin to change. Instead of, I mean, you're a Ghanaian. Yeah. There's an issue on board. Why can't you say that I think this, I think that? Oh, but your critics say. So without the critics, there's no Ghana. So I think the media should also do us a favor and then try to bring things together. And all the, as for the chiefs and then the elders, I mean, they've also really messed it up in a way where they go around endorsing. And the ridiculous thing is that now you've got one chief endorsing two candidates. And I think it follows the same line of two prophets also saying that God says different people are going to win the elections. But above all, I think that there are these pragmatic steps that they can take to diffuse the tension.
Wow. Doc, we want to say a very big thank you to you for your time. We know if we had enough time, we would have gone into other areas as well. I know Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump were also on the same platform. They were able to exchange, missiles, but they were able to still come together after the elections. We hope and we pray that after these elections on the 7th of December, Mahama or whether Akufo-Addo or whether Pakistan Indom comes into power, they should be able to unite our country
Let me
together.
tell you one thing with the American system. You know, after the final meeting of the candidates, it's a kind of a dinner.
Okay.
If you followed, it was that place that I think Trump made a comment that this is the first time I've seen Hillary speaking objectively, or kind of saying that.
Yes, I remember it.
And then Hillary Clinton said, "Oh yeah, Donald, you remember you said at one of our meetings that you think I was on drugs." And then he said, "Of course, I was."
Yeah.
And that drug is preparation. I mean, so after it all, they come together and then at least diffuse the tension away. Ghana, as at now, does not even seem to have the traditional IEA debate among presidential candidates.
Yeah.
So they've all taken quite a kind of an entrenched position. Which I'm hoping that whoever wins, in terms of the unity, I think that whoever wins should take a cue and then diffuse the tension, where we all realize that, I think what I've seen is that Ghana is only when we have big funerals that you see our leaders coming together. I don't know, but that's what I've observed.
Yeah.
It's only when we have funerals that you see everybody somber and solemn. But I think that we are doing the next generation a very bad thing if we're unable to let them know that we have only one country. Yeah. And then all the changes that need to come, we should try and make those changes for the benefit of not just us. And more so, I think I'll have another opportunity to also talk about the role that our faith has played in all these matters. Because I think that's part of the problem that needs to be addressed.
We could look into that as well in our next setting. Well, thank you very much for your time, and we're very, very honored to have you. Well, viewers, you've been watching Hard Talk with me, Jerry, and today, as I said, I had with me in the studios to do us the honors to digest this very topic. Is elections a do and die affair in Ghana? In the person of Dr. Fred Yamoah, who is actually a senior lecturer in marketing at the University of Hertfordshire. I hope you enjoyed this very episode of Hard Talk. Well, catch you again same time next week on the same show, Hard Talk. I'll see you. Take care. Ghana is for all of us. We have not just one country. Let's put it well. Let's live together. This election will come. It will pass. Let's Ghana be the same Ghana we normally have and we know. God bless you. Catch you up later. Thank you.